So after some post-holiday recovery time, let's get back to some actual toy reviewing here on the TJOmega YouTube channel. And we have a whole bunch of brand new toys to talk about. Not only what came in thanks to Santa Claus, but also the stuff that came out just before thanks to BBTS. I'm debating which one I actually like better as a toy provider. But for now, we can talk about one of the new Titans Return figures. This is Triggerhappy, and this was an impressive and surprising figure. I think this is the one a lot of people weren't expecting much from and got completely caught off guard. And I even saw people listing this as their toy of the year, which I think is a little short-sighted. Maybe we've had some fantastic stuff, and maybe that's a little bit of new toy shine on it, but hey, I'm not going to argue it if you really think that, because this might actually deserve it for some. So, of course, we have this very lovely space fighter mode, and this is definitely heavily armed. This seems like it fits right in the Star Wars universe with those big forward-facing laser cannons, kind of like an X-Wing has. Is it? We can call this a T-Wing, I guess, right? Is that how it works? We just pick a letter? I don't know. So, whatever it is heavily armed and very awesome looking. This looks like something I would play in like an on-rail shooting game. It's like after it's been fully upgraded and fires 6 shots at one time. Very cool. It's a kind of a dullish blue plastic with some off-white going through. And I like the paint that's been going on here. We have a little bit of silver. It's got a little thing as the light hits it in a weird way, so I'm going to call it silver for now, but you can kind of see it in the camera. It's a little bit color shifty, but I like the gold trim. I like how, thanks to transformation, all the gold little specks all come together around the top of the cockpit. Gives it a nice little pattern going on. Decepticon symbol up front, a little bit paint down there, and then the paint across the wings with more Decepticon sigils. He really wants you to know he is a bad guy. And we have touches of blue along the tail fins, as well as a little bit of silver trim. He has some nice little touches here and there. Nothing necessarily needs to be painted huge on this guy, but he does have a lot of little details that pop really nicely against the blue. Speaking of, they actually did a good job color matching the paint that's all covered across the canopy. It's not something I normally point out, but they actually did do a fairly good job. Unless it's heavy light, or unless you're really looking, it's hard to tell the difference. Very, very good on ya, Hasbro. So let's see what's inside, because of course, we can't pop this open and reveal the tiny little Titan Master inside. This is Blowpipe, who's no longer a Target Master, which means that name makes absolutely no sense. I'm not really keeping track of the Target Master as much, so it's hard to tell if, hard for me to remember if the arms or the torso or anything are reused from a previous one, because they all kind of blend together, especially in the Hasbro versions aren't painted, except for the face hanging off their back. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, and it's the same articulation points as always. Ball joint at the neck, ball joint at the shoulders that barely work, hinges and knees at hips. That's about it. But we do have a little bit we can do with him. For instance, we, like the other set figures in this series, in this wave, we have the return of the pegs that allow Titan Masters to hang out on the vehicle mode, increasing play value and interplay with other figures in the line. This is always a good thing. It's still ridiculous to see it flying across on a jet, like, figure out how to get like little seats in there. Like maybe they should peg in with like that little stump, like the little individual ones do, and then you just have a seat while he's riding. That might make a little bit more sense, but hey, it's something for them to do, and it's interplay. I like that. So very impressive, very nice vehicle mode all the way around. Very solid looking too. I like the back with the gold thrusters, and not a whole lot of robot showing, all things considered. If you know what parts are what, yeah, you can tell where like arms and legs go, but it does a very good job of disguising them here, which is the idea of a Transformer now, isn't it? It is a robot in disguise. We're going to take off these two guns and set them aside. I'm usually very bad at remembering where those things can store in vehicle mode, or if they have a special mounting point when combined, but I couldn't find any on this one in particular. So we'll just go ahead and go into transformation now. Oh, I will point out, just because it is here, it's the first time in a while I've seen actual landing gear that flips out, rather than just being molded in or just letting you sit him on his belly. Alright, so we're going to extend all of this out, and that's going to come into play a little bit later, but for now, get the legs folded out, split, and flip the feet out. That gives us our legs, and that rotates around like that. Now, here's the cool part. We're going to take the nose cone down, and with the waist section down like that, we're going to rotate everything around. That's the part that threw a lot of people off. That's the transformation trick that I think impressed a lot of people and really made them start taking this toy seriously. Because I think just from stock photos, you started expecting a very simple transformation because you thought you saw how everything worked, and then that happened, and everyone went, ooh, that's different. Indeed, it is different. It really, really lets Triggerhappy here shine. Very, very cool transformation. All right, so all that connected and snapped together. We get the Headmaster, Titan Master, whatever you want to call him. And with him folded down, we clamp down in, and that gives us our robot mode for Titan's Return Triggerhappy. Again, exceptionally clever transformation. Definitely keeps him from having just the stock basic jet to robot stylings, and it definitely gives him a lot of play value. He's fun to transform, which is always a plus. Head-wise, of course, we are looking at something that is more Hasbro leaning than anything. I actually have reference point on my computer next to me, and I'm trying to confirm, but yeah, it's keeping the red face and the yellow eyes of the original toy. So that's all well and good. Let's see if I can actually get both eyes in shot, because there's one thing about this one that always that's recognized to me. Okay, so you see the head? You see how the head looks, and the yellow eyes and the red? It's Deadpool in a Optimus Prime helmet. Some of you will never be able to unsee that. That may or may not improve your view of the toy. I don't know, that's all on you, but that's what I saw, and I could not get it out of my head. So there you go. This might actually spoil the toy for some. And some others it might be even more awesome now. So let's take a look. Robot mode wise, I like the proportions. He's very, very well balanced as far as shapes go. Very, very solid looking as warriors go. You know, pretty standard. Nothing like too heavy. Narrow at the waist, wide at the chest. This all works pretty well. I will say I don't like how much ends up kibbled onto his arms. He's got the big lasers, which you can flip forward if you want them to actually be cannons that you can hold out. So just in case you want, it's a little bit of a imagination play if you really want it to have there. You can't have the wings out or anything though, because they'll get in the way of the cannons. But yeah, you can see where things start kind of rubbing against each other, start kind of clashing into each other if you start bending things. So that part gets really frustrating for me. I really wish some of this ended up on the back or something. So that's a detraction. Everything else, though, seems to work pretty well. I do like the fins up here on the knees. It gives them a sharp look. And the cockpit and nose cone section on the back does not get in the way of anything, so that works out pretty well. All those nice details I liked in the jet mode end up detailing his chest with a little bit left over here on the legs. Very nice. Very nice. It's a toy that really just doesn't need a whole lot of paint to look really striking. Does most of its work with the original plastic color, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Also ends up with a little bit of gold highlight here on the legs as well, just to give a you rarely see painted detail that low to the ground. All in all, very nice. I'm happy with this. We can take a look at articulation. If we twist Deadpool around, we do have a ball jointed neck. Of course we do. That's how Titan Masters work. A hinge at the torso, as well as a swivel here at the shoulder, does give us fairly good motion. It's not quite universal. There's a few positions that it gets stubborn about, but not bad. You do have the bicep swivel, which is kind of restricted once you try and go outward with it. A little bit beyond 90 degrees on the elbow. Thanks to transformation, we have a waist joint. Nice to see. Full ball joints with plenty of clearance all the way around. Thigh swivel works great. Great knee bend. Great knee bend. And then you have an ankle that rocks back and forth and collapses to help you catch balance in certain poses. That makes him a pretty articulated guy. Again, the arms kibble is going to get in the way, but for the most part, we can enjoy a pretty posable figure on this guy. Beyond that, we of course do have his weaponry, which can be mounted in both hands, but we can also combine them like so into one massive gun, which has no handle on the bottom, because this is one of those Titan Master modes. You can see the pegs inside. So I keep wanting to say Target Master because he is a Target Master. He just has a head now is all. The Titan Master plugs in, sits down, and can, I guess you either decide this is either a floating gun compartment or what, because like I said, I couldn't find a place for it to hook in vehicle mode. But you can mount the weapon there and give a big double barrel rifle. You can also mount it on the side of his arm, because there is a hole there for that, which looks a little bit ridiculous, but hey, it's a thing you can do. You can also separate it and give him arm cannons, just in case the arm cannons you already can flip forward aren't enough arm cannon for you. And then, of course, I guess you can just put them in his hands. Jeez, you want to be boring about it. I will say, I am very happy that they've moved on from there's a giant pit in the middle of my gun kind of stylings. The combined guns that form the cockpits when they're together tend to work a lot better, and now that they're figuring out more ways of making that work, you get a lot more interesting looking weaponry that doesn't quite suffer for having the seat for a Titan Master to ride in. So that, my friends, is Titan's Return. Triggerhappy. Excellent figure. He does have a few little... I have a few nitpicks with him, and I've stated them several times in this review. In particular, the shoulders, they get a little bit awkward to pose, and how much kibbles around the arms. I don't know if he's figure of the year quality, if you're counting him as a 2016 toy. He is exceptionally good for a deluxe, though. The cleverness and the fun of the transformation does make up for a lot of the little shortcomings that he has here and there, and rounds him out to be a pretty great figure, and a huge surprise in this wave when everybody is looking forward to, I was looking forward to Twinferno, most people were looking forward to Hot Rod. This is the one that I think took a lot of people by surprise, just by being the right amount of complex and surprising at the same time.